What does the Act say about the role of the NNPC boss?
His role purely is also spelled out in the Enabling Act. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the corporation. So he's in charge of administration of the corporation. He is expected to execute the policies of government as passed on to him, either by the Minister for Petroleum, in other words, from the government perspective. He's appointed by the president, is expected to execute policy directive of the government in terms of what the government wants to do in the petroleum sector, without more. That's why he's there. He's to work in concert or in tandem with the Minister for Petroleum. You have managers of the Nigerian polity who have not taken pains to look at the various enabling laws. I believe so strongly that the NNPC MD has also not taken time to look at the law, to understand what his function is or what his role is vis-a-vis the reporting line with the Minister for State Petroleum. You cannot have a meeting, a board meeting. Mind you, he said that the Minister for Petroleum has no business being around the board or something, because I read in the papers. Now, how can you say that? You have, what that shows to me or says to me is you haven't taken time to look at the enabling law. What does the law say concerning your function? What does the law say concerning the minister? What is the reporting line? What are your duties? What are the expectations of the minister from you? You're expected to have a regular interface with the supervising authority, and the supervising authority here is the minister, except where you're saying that because of the hierarchical structure and because it's not so clear as who you ought to report to, so you report directly to the president. If he says that, then that puts the president on the spot, because the law creating the NNPC has stratified the various segments, or what you call hierarchical structure, and also in terms of functions. Who is to do what? You have a tenders board. Before tender, there will be resolution. These are the things that we need. Mr. MD, please see to it. So every decision to be taken will be taken at the board and then given to you as the executive officer of the corporation to execute. Therefore, you cannot take an independent decision from the board. That's why you're there. Except issues of, for instance, employment. There are what you call minute issues that you're not expected to bother the board with. But any major decisions that goes to what you call foundational issues will be cleared with the board. You can't do otherwise. Otherwise, it will be seen as an act of gross insubordination. Anything major. So we've had managers of our polity who haven't taken time to know the enabling laws, who haven't taken time to know the laws that created or established this institution.
The NNPC boss says that he is not required to be reviewed or to have discussions with the Minister of State on major contracts, that he's supposed to get processing and approval from the NNPC tender board on some of these major contracts.
That's not true. You need to look at the Act to appreciate what the problem really is. The Act is clear in terms of what role he's expected to play. Policies or issues that bother on the administration of the NNPC is his forte or his responsibility. But in carrying out those policies, he's expected to be given directive from the board. Board presided over by a chairman, who incidentally is a minister for petroleum. Now, you cannot take decisions, and then you also have what is called threshold contracts. You cannot, for instance, award contracts of a particular threshold without going through the board. There's board approval. You need board approval for certain decisions as well. Now, question is, did he get those board approval? If the answer is no, clearly that's a violation of the Act itself. So it does not lie in his mouth to say that, by and large, almost like saying, I do not report to the minister. That is completely out of order. It's not in line or in tandem with the Enabling Act, the NNPC Act, and also the provision of the Constitution.
This particular situation, what does this say about this whole administration?
No, no, clearly, with due respect to maybe some members of the current cabinet, I feel that the president is doing a yeoman's job. I feel that the president is not carrying, he doesn't really have a team of advisors who will advise him in terms of what he needs to do as regards administering the state or exercising governmental powers. Because if that were to be, first, there are a number of what you call constitutional infraction. You have appointed a minister and you've made that minister a minister for state. Is it constitutionally permissible? The answer is no. Now, you also have a situation where some people are reporting to the president directly without going through the laid down procedure. Is that right? No. So you have a situation where you have a divide and rule approach to governance. And for me, it goes to reflect the kind of person that we have as president. He does not, I wouldn't want to say he doesn't mean well for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but because of his military background, there are a number of things that he has actually not realized that are undemocratic and unconstitutional. So clearly, he probably does not have advisors, probably does not have people that he listens to in terms of what he needs to do in governing the Nigerian state or steering the ship of the state.
In defense of the president, it could be that some of his cabinet members may not be fully, trusted to some large extent. So he wants to make sure people report directly to him so that he knows the true state of things.
But that would be an error. Why will you then have a group of people that you appointed if you can't trust them? Why will you work with people that you can't trust? Why will you appoint people that you can't trust? If you can't trust, lay off and then pick people you can trust. And then mind you, it does not border on trust. It borders on due process. It borders on complying with statutory provisions. It borders on constitutional provision. If the law is clear, I might not like your face. I might not like who you are. But if there's a laid down procedure by statute, I must follow that laid down procedure. It has nothing to do with your person. If I feel that you are exhibiting acts of gross insubordination and I have the power to lay you off, I'll lay you off. It's as simple as that. You have the power to hire and fire. If anybody is not measuring up, the former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, did that. Some of his ministers were laid off when he realized that they were unproductive. So if you have people that are working with you that are not result-oriented and will give your government a minus instead of a plus, what are you expected to do? Lay them off. And you can't use that as an excuse. Why have people that will drown you or sink the state of shape, the shape of the state, if they're not productive? Why will you continue to keep them? It's like the Jonah principle. Throw them off so that you can sail. And that's my attitude. You can't continue to use this as an excuse. When you do this act of divide and rule, you are by and large encouraging what some people refer to as tribalism, ethnicity, favoritism, and these are vices that can destroy a country.